an instinct. A feeling. The Force brought us together.
We haven't done one of these in about a month.
I know, it's been a while, hasn't it? No James again.
Well, hopefully it won't come in through the door as we're filming.
Probably. I've already warned me.
So this is the coffee break again. We've been away for such a long time.
We have. We do,
Yeah.
do other things rather than moan about stuff, so...
We were going to review the Joker, but this arsehole can be bothered to watch it.
No, I haven't watched it, but we did actually do another video where, we were actually talking about the Joker trailer, and this moron decided to mess it up with his camera work, so...
No, it was the sound.
That's close enough,
For some
and
reason.
you're still a moron, either way, so... Don't swear at me either.
I'm so sorry.
We have a subject to talk about now.
Yeah, I think we'll probably make this a Star Wars channel.
Yeah, it's certainly getting that way, isn't it? Definitely. But we did have the trailer hit yesterday, so it's the logical thing to talk about.
Yes.
You look pained by it.
It's just more the same, really.
In more respect.
Well, I looked at the trailer and I'm thinking, are they just recycling everything from the previous films? I mean, you've got shots of the Star Destroyers, and if you know anything about Star Wars lore or anything, there's two different types of Star Destroyer. This is getting into like really sad.
Don't say that. People watching are going to be thinking you're calling them sad.
Yeah, but in the original Star Wars, the Imperial One Star Destroyer, as it's called, the little bridge thing on the top has a bit of like an X-beam thing going on. And then subsequent movies after that, Empire and Jedi, got rid of the crossbeam thing on the bridge. And the Star Destroyers in Rise of Skywalker are the New Hope Star Destroyers, which is either for some kind of story reason or they're just recycling the CG assets from Rogue One.
Or they're going for nostalgia as well. You have to think that the trailers, the special look that we had at the D23, that was purely, they showed all the original films, showed prequels. They were working on a nostalgia element, and maybe if there are people who are watching this who are going to think, yeah, they're going back to old school here, they're going back to the original stuff. People are going to be, I think some people are excited by that, definitely. At least, people these trailer reactions that people have had, things like that, these are things that they're picking up on. But yeah, it does seem very recycled, no matter what anyone says. But where are they going to go now? Well, they backed themselves into a corner, haven't they, really?
Down the toilet. Even with the there's a scene in the trailer with the horses running across the Star Destroyer, and that just gives me Last Jedi flashbacks.
I had to watch that scene again to make sure. I thought they're horses. And the first thing was I was looking at them and I thought, hang on a minute, are they actually running across the Star Destroyer? And I thought, no. So I went back and watched it, and they weren't. They were galloping across a Star Destroyer. Whilst
The odds of galloping across a Star Destroyer.
Well, absolutely. Oh dear. I mean, bringing it back, is there anything that you thought that was good about the trailer?
Saw a Y-wing.
Yay! There we go, nostalgia. No, I mean, you know, the visuals are very, very good. Or we could talk about that, but it's a Star Wars film, so you've got to work very hard to mess.
No, I mean even these new films, they don't seem to line up the visual style with all the previous films. You know, the prequels and George Lucas films basically. I mean, you take like the laser blasts and everything like that. It just looks totally different.
Yes. Yeah. It doesn't. The big problem, and I've said it before about the new trilogy, the sequel trilogy, as it were, is that it doesn't feel like Star Wars. It's perhaps parody is too strong a word, but it doesn't feel like what we knew Star Wars to be. The visuals, the cinematic element, the characters, everything. It just does not work as Star Wars. And a good thing for this, and this is my big problem about it, watching the trailer, there are things about it that I thought, okay, yeah, fair enough. That could be epic, this could be going on, people are going to like this, but ultimately my big problem is I was not excited at all about it. I used to watch, you think back, going way back to Phantom Menace when I saw that teaser trailer for Phantom Menace, whatever anyone thinks of the film, how excited I was by that. Star Wars films, even subsequently, up to probably Force Awakens, seeing that trailer, and I was quite, buzzed by it. And now it's just like, it's not, I'm just not excited by it now. Not as I would be for perhaps, other things.
But I think the fact of them trying to release a film, I know they've slowed down recently, but them trying to release a film every year, like Marvel or whatever, it's just, people just get sick of it. It's just...
Well, the problem is it works for stuff like Marvel, because you've got different characters, you do have different types of films, and it was woven together very, very well. They didn't seem to have a plan here. They still don't seem to have a plan here. And yeah, it just doesn't seem to work. I do think, watching it, if we go back to the actual trailer, there were scenes there. I mean, there's the people have picked it apart. The scene with 3PO, which a lot of people are talking about, I want to have one last look at my friends.
Yeah, the people that he's never... Has he actually interacted with any of the new characters in the films?
Not really, to my knowledge. Perhaps
I bet you're
Poe.
wondering about the Red Army.
Yes. Perhaps Poe? He would have known Poe, perhaps.
I don't know, I don't think he's ever... I mean, not that 3PO in this film, these sequel films have ever had much sort of screen time.
And again, one of the
R2-D2 in The Force Awakens was under a...
Well, yeah, a virtual cameo, wasn't it? I mean, to be honest, the thing is, 3PO there was the leak and the spoilers, and spoiler alert of sort, if indeed it is that 3PO is going to somehow have his memory either wiped or be changed into a battle droid, because early poster had him with Chewie's bowcaster, or a bowcaster. He obviously had red eyes and a special look. And indeed, I think in this trailer, I think were there battle droids behind him as well. I think actual battle droids like from the Trade Federation as well.
Right.
I don't know. Someone was saying about it. I didn't pay that much attention. But that's just what I mean. There are things that people picked up in the trailer that they, people have gone over with a fine-tooth comb, and I've watched it and I've not. It's the sort of stuff that I would usually pick up on, and I haven't picked up on. Because I'm not interested in that respect. But, and then we've got our girl Rey. Your favourite character, isn't she?
Yeah. Is she going to be Kylo Ren again?
They're dueling. I like that. I've got to say, I did say about it in the special note, I do like the setting of that duel. I think that shot of him coming through the actual mist of the water and that sort of setup, I think locations, I thought it looked quite cool. It was probably the best shot of the trailer, really. For what it's worth.
Visually, I mean, the new Star Wars films, you can't really fault them.
No.
I mean, visuals alone don't make a good film.
No, it doesn't, and you know it doesn't hold up. And like we've just said, it's still not in that sort of style. But they're on about. There's some sort of connection that's still going on between Rey and Kylo Ren, and we see them dueling at one point. Then we see them attacking what looks like a statue of the Emperor or whatever at another point. And there's another bit where they kind of look like they're in the same sort. We don't know what that relationship's actually going to be. And one thing I suppose in some regard, which is a plus for the trailer, is they haven't revealed anything plot-wise, really. It does seem to suggest from it that some of the leaks, as we said before, were true. With the Star Destroyers, with other things, with, of course, now a kind of appearance of sorts from the Emperor. I don't know the fact he's back. Doesn't that just mess up Return of the Jedi?
No one's ever really gone.
Indeed, yeah, I know. That's it.
Well, I mean, what can they do? I mean, they've written themselves into a corner, really.
Apparently JJ came out and said that what happened in The Last Jedi wasn't really that far off the books. Maybe he's just saying that because he's been paid a whole bunch of money, I don't know. But something else I found interesting, going off a bit off subject as such here, was apparently ticket sales, since they hit yesterday, I've been going through the roof, apparently outselling Avengers Endgame, which is the record holder, I think. But yeah, and there's all these rumours of ticket sellouts, but it not quite being kosher, like Disney might be buying whole theatres out or things like that. I mean, how much truth do you think's in that?
Well, you know that no one's ever paid to write a good review, so
yeah. I mean, it's weird. I will go and watch it, and this is, I suppose, getting Disney's favour. A lot of people have said they just want to see how it ends, how the mess ends, and what they're actually going to do, and if they're going to mess it up even more, or whatever, or if they're actually going to manage to pull it around to its at least some sort of respectable level. Do you think this will be the last of the saga films?
Hopefully, fingers crossed.
That's it.
For a long time, anyway.
No, there is another. I mean, they're saying they're going back and doing individual things, and obviously we've got Mandalorian coming, which apparently has been critics of early showings and early things has been getting rave reviews. Again, who knows?
Well, you should never trust critics anyway.
My own counsel will I keep when I go to watch these shows and films. I'm just trying to think of anything else in the trailer as well that's really.
All the Star Destroyers lined up in a row, like Connect 4.
Oh, that was it. Let's talk about the other ships. The ships that the Falcon is actually
Rebel
leading.
ships. Oh, sorry, Resistance.
Well, are they even Resistance ships? It just looks like a bunch of random ships they've just chucked in.
Well, as I said, they're just reusing their old CG assets because you got the Ghost in there.
Yes, and a lot of people like that fact.
That was in Rogue One, I think.
It is, and I think a lot of people like that though. It's whether it's just an Easter egg or whether or not it's actually.
No, they're reusing all the.
You're not going to let that one go, are you? At all, that's it.
No, they're just
reusing what they've got.
Yeah, I think that's what they're doing.
I don't.
Well, they're reusing all the old footage.
It's nice to have the Ghost in
from
there.
Last Jedi and Force Awakens.
Is it nice to have the Ghost in there though? Do you like Rebels?
Watched a few episodes.
But Easter eggs, little nods here and there, I'm all for it. It's not actually confirmed that it is the Ghost.
It's like, hey look.
Was it like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. where they say, hey look, there's Iron Man flying by over there, what, where? Can we actually see him? No.
A lightsaber.
That's it, yeah.
A Y-Wing. A TIE Fighter. Ooh, Star Destroyer.
Curiously omitted was the Dark Side Ray shot that we had at the end of the D23 footage.
Well, I mean, if you've seen the parodies of...
Oh yeah, but
Swiss Army lightsaber.
it was slated that scene for so many different reasons. It got absolutely hammered. I mean, I really don't know. They seem to be focusing on her being obviously. Well, is she going to be a Skywalker? That's the other thing. Rise of Skywalker. Which Skywalker? Who is it? It's just...
It's probably a Skywalker. They're all probably Skywalker.
That was the original, wasn't it?
I mean, technically, Ben Solo is a Skywalker.
Yes. So it could be him. Could be, He's the only character I think I've really got any interest in seeing what happens to him, because he's been...
I mean, technically, the Emperor's a Skywalker as well, because he manipulated midichlorians to create life. Or was that Darth Plagueis?
What are you talking about? Are you talking about some random comic thing?
No, because Anakin Skywalker,
Yes.
he has an immaculate birth, doesn't
He did. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
like Jesus.
I'm not going into that at all. The fact of the matter is, he... Wasn't that in a comic or a book that apparently it was him that manipulated midichlorians that made... Is it Shmi Skywalker get pregnant? Is that what you're referring to? It's nonsense. I'm not even going to sully my hands talking about it, really. It's just... The Emperor himself being back as well here. They say he's hooked up to some sort of life support machine. Because he survived the fall of however many 100 feet down into the chasm. Let's not talk about the fact that he was in the centre of a huge, great thermonuclear explosion.
Death Star blew up.
Yeah. How do you survive that?
Well, how was the Death Star even...
In pieces. Are we established which Death Star it is?
I think it's the second one, isn't it?
Looks like it. Looks like it is. I see that bugs me as well, because again it exploded, but it kind of looked like it pretty much vaporized.
Yeah. Pulverized.
Yes. Yeah. But it seems to be very much intact. I know there would be some pieces which would have probably gone through, but even so, it just looks...
So I assume that the Death Star was always powered by a sort of, what's it called, fission, which is like the sun, basically.
Well, it was a reactor, wasn't
it?
Yeah. It was essentially a reactor. So you hit that, and that was the whole point. It would set off chain reaction, and boom. In layman's terms, but it's the whole idea was, which was that the Emperor Darth Sidious, whatever you want to say, actually was sort of like a spirit, almost like a force ghost, if you will, and he was tethered to some sort of object, and then he was going to essentially be able to possess certain characters in the movie, was what was initially leaked. But now it seems...
Well, there's nothing that doesn't suggest that can't happen.
No, but it doesn't seem to make sense that he would be hooked up to a life support machine if he was actually...
Well, I didn't even notice that, I just saw...
Well, this is what people are saying, and this is apparently another leak which would contradict the earlier ones, that he's hooked up some sort of machine which is keeping him alive. And again, someone's combed through the trailer, and it does look like he is attached to something, apparently somewhere.
Could be just a flying throne or something.
Could be anything. Right, Thanos.
Yeah.
There you go. Take some of that from Marvel. No, I wait with bated breath for this. I will go and watch it, and everyone who knows about it will probably go and watch it just to see what happens. It is Star Wars. I am invested in it, but every person I seem to speak to, with the exception of a couple, just seem to be like, Star Wars, man. It's not the same. They're all not getting that buzz. They're all not getting that excitement level.
I mean, I watched it a couple of times. I mean, the music did, resonate with me. It was the Force thing, wasn't it?
It was, but the music has always been a strong part of. Again, it's not something really that you can fault.
But I mean, it basically looks like Return of the Jedi. I mean, you've got the desert planet where you've got the Skiths.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Death Star 2.
Yes.
You've got the final duel with the Emperor.
Yes. So whereas we've said before that, and we thought there's no way they're going to go down this line, that Force Awakens was like New Hope.
New Hope.
And then we had Last Jedi, which was
like Empire but reverse.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously they're not, and after being criticised for both, obviously they're not going to then make the new one like Jedi, because that would be crazy. And then you watch the trailer and you think, oh, they did. Unless they completely, dumbfound us.
But I mean, they've definitely taken elements from everything.
They've tried a lot of these, and this works for a lot of different a lot of the different film sagas now, where we've had too many sequels. We've got New Terminator coming. It looks like they're trying to put some of the stuff that's in the older films into the new films, and people think, wow, this is just like our childhood, or this is something that we used to watch, or this is.
I mean, when Last Jedi came out, people were saying, oh, it's almost as good as Empire.
Were they?
Yeah.
I admit, a lot of people, what I didn't understand, and I've said this before as well, I think.
But there's so many elements in that film which come from Empire. You've got the snow battle, which is right at the end.
Salt.
It's on a salt planet, and they made reference to the fact that it was a salt planet.
I didn't think that reference was very obvious myself. It's salt.
Well, you've got the Walker assault. I mean, you've got the chase, the slow-ass chase in space, which, even though it's only 5 minutes in Empire, takes up the whole film. That's the entire plot of the film.
A lot of people watched it, said it was great, and then when everyone said it's not so great, seemed to say, oh yeah, it's rubbish, that's what I thought all along. I think a lot of people, either they got caught up in the moment with it, or they got it, either that, or they were influenced that much by it.
Can't buy its best bit, basically.
No, I can't remember that happening. And I like The Last Jedi. Out of that and Force Awakens, I like that one, but that was what? And them riding on horses would be crazy. Wouldn't it have been more interesting if they were riding horses on a Star Destroyer? That's what they were thinking. I just, you think to yourself, I think they're trying. I think really they've been much to other people's ideas. I think they have been trying the whole time to deliver something. I do. I think they've got a warped perception of what people want, and I think they've been trying to say, okay, well, let's reference as much of the old films. Let's do this. Let's do that. But they should have just gone on a completely different path. The original actors didn't want to be in these films. They just offered them a whole heap of money and they said, oh yeah, we'll do it.
Except Mark Hamill.
No, Mark Hamill didn't want to be in it. He said about all this beforehand, and he did not want to. He washed his hands of Star Wars for a long time, and he did not. I don't think any of them would have wanted to have done it, really, if it come down to it. And it's a shame. Was the trailer? Someone said to me the trailer was released on Carrie Fisher's birthday. Was that yesterday? Anyway, yesterday when it was released, and I think that was Carrie Fisher's birthday. Anyway, it's obviously it is quite, I suppose, touching to see her there, and it's quite difficult in that aspect knowing that she's no longer with us. But there's a bit at the very end of the trailer where Luke appears to be speaking to Rey through the Force, and then Leia does as well. How do you feel about that?
Does she?
I think so. That's what I heard. I could have misheard it.
Oh, I didn't notice.
I think Disney say the Force will be with you, and she says always. Go back and watch. I'm sure that's what happens.
Missed that.
If that is the case,
I did watch it 3 times, but I missed that.
well, look at what I missed. There's people, like I said, who picked out, the Rey was holding a dagger in the scene where her and Kylo break the statue, which apparently has some. Maybe this dagger is a part of the Emperor's, contains the Emperor's spirit, or you have to sacrifice. Who knows where they're going with that? I mean, but people picked that up, and I didn't. In that same scene, apparently Chewbacca's bandolier and bowcaster are behind them both as well, like they're in some sort of cell or something. Allegedly, potentially, I really don't know. They haven't shown all the plot in the trailer, which I think is a good thing. Is there a plot? Oh dear. You're still going to watch it.
I'll watch it. Of course I'll watch it. I mean, it's the ending of a Star Wars trilogy.
It's the end of the whole saga.
Yeah.
How depressing is that?
Is it? Is it?
Oh, I've already seen a lot of things, Next year I'll be, episode 10, The Return of Jar Jar.
What's going to happen to Broom Boy and all the little children on Canterbury? Are they going to create a new Jedi?
Rey's going to train them.
Really?
Rey?
Really?
She'll train them. She's going to train them. That's what's going to happen. She's going to be the last Skywalker. No, wait a minute, I'm getting mixed up now. But yes, she's going to be the last one standing. She will then train the new Jedi Order.
Predictable.
You would rather the villains win?
It'd be more interesting, yeah.
I think
maybe Kylo Ren switches at the end. I think that's a possible.
I've always said, I always liked the idea of when the trailer came out for Last Jedi, the idea that both characters would actually switch. I've always liked that idea. I thought it made things a lot more interesting, and there was a lot of theories and a lot of ideas that was suggesting that might actually happen. And again, we've got similar inklings here, but we know that Dark Rey is going to be a vision or a clone or who knows what. But
be a vision.
Yes, it's got to be, hasn't it?
It'll be the Emperor's vision given to Rey or something like that. This is what happens.
Were you trying to be the Emperor then, or were you trying to be Sylvester Stallone?
This is what happens. Kill your friends, go to my side.
Yeah.
Take Kylo Ren's place.
Yes, that would be predictable.
Yeah.
That would be very predictable. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. Is there any way back for it? Do you think there's any way they can pull it off to actually end it very well? Is there anything they can do?
No.
I would want that to be like a bigger in-depth point. No.
It'll be like Return of the Jedi, where maybe Kylo is like with the Emperor or whatever, and then he'll suddenly have a redemption, or he'll change while Rey's getting tortured or something. That's how it's going to end. And he's going to you young fool.
What with his
magic
finger jazz hands?
Magic finger jazz hands, and that'll be it. And he'll save Rey at the last moment.
Who?
Rey?
There you go.
He will save Rey at the last moment, and they will kill the Emperor, and that'll be the end. There'll be another super weapon as well.
I was just about to say, you took the word out of words out of my mouth. Do we think there's going to be another super weapon, or is the weapon actually this fleet of original Star Destroyers?
They're going to have to put another super weapon. It will happen.
I had another random theory that the Emperor's actually been frozen. like Captain America in the ice.
Oh, there is a shot of a Star Destroyer coming out.
Yes, yeah, that's one.
Yes.
Yeah, and there's obviously a shot of the TIE fighters all flying towards icy, I don't know, asteroid, is that what you call it? Or whatever an icy
I don't know, I thought it was on some kind of planet and that was like a reflection on the water.
Quite possibly, yes. Again, I didn't pay that much detail, but
That's what it looked like to me.
yeah, and that could be it. And it was, but again, there is a lot focused on the idea of this hidden fleet or this hidden weapon or whatever in the ice. Obviously, it's going to be a huge space battle that they've got planned with this fleet and of the other rebel ships, resistance ships, whatever they are, ships, all lining up.
All lining up in perfect formation, evenly spaced.
So we're going to have, yeah, not an easy target or anything.
It wasn't like they copied and pasted anything.
Oh no, not at all, not at all. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, but we've got probably again in the vein of Jedi. There's probably going to be a land battle of sorts. Maybe that's the horses. Maybe that counts the land battle. Everyone will be riding horses along all the different Star Destroyers. And the space battle and probably the lightsaber duel as well. I would have thought.
There's that skiff chase with the jet trooper, is it?
Yeah, or whoever it is chasing after them. Nothing of the Knights of Ren in the trailer either. Curious omission because they're on a lot of the.
They were in the Vanity Fair.
Yes.
Magazine, weren't they?
Now, the Knights of Ren, weren't they meant to be the Jedi's who left along with Kylo when Kylo destroyed Luke's temple?
I think so.
Why have none of them want lightsabers other than him? No, I'm just curious because I thought that was the whole point was that if they were all Jedi, they would all have a lightsaber of some sort, and they've all got different weapons. It's like, we'll give them all each an individual weapon, so you have to buy more toys.
Well, I don't know, maybe because Kylo, he built his lightsaber, didn't he?
He did.
Maybe they're not adversed in the Force enough to build their own lightsabers.
I guess so. But and
maybe they were like just at the beginning of their training.
And there was none of the I don't remember what was in the trailer, talking more about what was out of it than not. There were none of the heavily criticised Sith troopers as well, which were basically First Order troopers in bright red armour. They were curious by their omission as well because, as I said, the Knights of Ren, the Sith troopers...
but they'll probably be in it for 10 seconds anyway.
Again, possibly we'll introduce this to sell a few toys and go from there.
They'll be guarding the Emperor somewhere or something like that, and they'll be on the screen for like 10 seconds, and then that'll be it.
This whole idea that it was the Emperor's plan all along as well, I don't really like that. Like he foresaw this going way back to, well, I suppose chronologically it would be episode 1. As well, that this was his whole plan. His whole plan was to actually be killed by Darth Vader, for Darth Vader to redeem himself, and that all to go that way is... because we've kind of ignored the fact that the whole Chosen One, are they changing that to Rey as well, do you think? That Rey is the Chosen One?
Probably.
Oh.
Girl power.
Or is the Chosen One actually going to be 2? And it's going to be Kylo and Rey, and they're going to be... Because he says the Emperor makes a way of them joining forces or coming to him combined or something. I can't remember what it was at the end of the trailer.
Coming together will be your undoing.
That's it, yes. So is that obviously where the two of them are there ready to face him, or who knows what?
Yeah.
No Matt Smith either. And whoever his character is meant to be. Dark side.
Is he in the film?
Well, apparently, whether we know it's him or not, because...
The thing is with IMDb, it can be edited by anyone really.
well, how many characters were stormtroopers? How many actors were stormtroopers? People from different things were actually stormtroopers in the last 2 films. You know, you had Prince William and Harry, didn't you?
Daniel
Craig were,
the first one.
Yeah, so it's, I don't know, they could just be putting that in, but apparently a lot of people have said that his character does have some sort of significance, and they don't think that he was in the trailer, but I thought, maybe that could be from keeping the plot a bit hush-hush.
He could be one of the Knights, right?
He could be. We'll still, like I said, we'll still watch it. We've got to go and answer those questions now. We've asked more questions than anything else. Don't look so pained. Can't just go on forever watching, the old Star Wars films and pretend like the new ones never happened.
You can always do that.
I can't do it, mate.
What?
Because the end of Return of the Jedi, I've said before.
It's the end. That's the end.
It is the end. It should be the end. I'm just hoping, and I never like these sort of endings, but I'm just hoping it's going to come back to Endor, and it's all going to be a force.
Do you think this is just George Lucas's plan to just piss everyone off?
I wouldn't say plan, but I do think that he would have known that no one could make a Star Wars film like he makes
So
it.
you think the sequels are bad, or I'm going to sell them to Disney? What do you call them? What do you call Disney? White slavers?
Oh yeah. I think my honest opinion is, if you know that you've made something and created something great, and he knew Star Wars was great, the original trilogy, the prequels alright made, and people said, oh yeah, they don't like him, but
Yeah, they were great films, and then 1997 special edition.
I like some of the things in there.
Yeah, I mean, the special sort of digital sound, how they cleaned up the film negatives and that, and some of the extra, polish and scenes and stuff like that. But that Jabba scene in
And then they changed it again.
Docking Bay 94.
They then changed it again, didn't they, for later releases, and they made him look even worse. Trying to clean up. The thing is, I love the original trilogy, I love the prequels as well, to be honest. I like them enough to say, because it was part of that story, it was still part of that story, it was what came before, the series still ended with Return of the Jedi, it was spot on. Now, George Lucas must have known at that point that he always said, they said, there was meant to be 3 more films, but Jedi was the end point. He said there is nothing more, it was the story of Darth Vader, and that was the story arc concluded. And everyone essentially lives happily ever after, that was the point. Now he knew that by selling any sort of rights to Disney, that Disney were going to go and make another bunch of films, and he knew they would make 7, 8 and 9 if they could throw enough money at the original stars to come back. And even if they didn't, they were going to do it anyway. And he must have thought, they're not going to make it. Whoever they get, they're not going to make it like I make it. Even if they made it really, really good and fantastic, they would have had to have basically made a copy, with the style, with the visuals, with the wipes. And he must have known that. Whether he knew that just to irritate everybody or whether it was the big amount of money they offered him,
Yeah, I think George Lucas probably knew he might piss people off.
Well, there's still this whole rumour about him having character rights
Yeah.
and having to get royalties if a certain character's mentioned. That's why we were talking about this the other day, about Admiral Akbar being killed. And now we've got a relative, of Admiral Akbar that's going to actually be there. And so they can use him instead of... I don't know. I think it should have been left at
What's his name? Johnny Akbar?
Bob Akbar.
Bob Akbar.
That's it. I think it should have been left at Jedi, and it's gutting really. If they were going to do 7, 8 and 9, sell the rights to Disney, but he should have been involved in some capacity there, to make sure I didn't go too far off. It's like I said, I think Marvel are going to go the same way without the influence of Stan Lee being there. However small a capacity to help guide them.
I mean, what are they going to do now? I mean, they've blown all their load essentially.
What, on the... You talking about Marvel?
Yeah.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows what they're going to do? They had their big swan song with Endgame. They've got rid of their main actors, but that's a different kind of fish. But
they're never going to be able to top that, are they?
No, I don't think so. But at least the good thing about that is, if they make any more films, even individual films and things like that, it's still an end point. Endgame is a point that you can, you say that's the. It's not like a Return of the Jedi.
Endgame.
Yeah, for a reason.
Yeah.
But it's not a point that not like Return of the Jedi where everything's actually okay and solved. There are still characters, there are still things happening in the universe. Really.
That's okay. I mean, you can have unresolved story threads.
Well, look at the Thrawn. Look at the Thrawn books and things like that, which came after in the expanded universe, which a lot of people didn't like, but some of it was really good. The idea that there would still be Imperials fighting against the rebels who now have the upper hand, great. Luke training a new bunch of Jedi, great, yeah. Whatever way they wanted to go with it, they could have gone. But to actually then say, somehow, the rebels / resistance were still on the back foot from the First Order, it set up wrong from the start, didn't it, really? So, and it's always just been a downhill from there, unfortunately.
They should have turned it on itself and made the First Order the rebels, essentially.
Well, that's it.
And then being the good guys, essentially.
What, make the rebels say
make the New Republic as, the totalitarian state. So it's sort of flipped on itself, where now the New Republic is essentially become the Empire itself. And now the former Empire have turned into the Freedom Fighters. I think that would have been fun and interesting.
They should have let you make it.
Yeah.
That's what we should have done.
Yeah.
Disney, watch out for this guy. If you want someone to do it, I say, well, that's what I
that would have been the logical step, and then it would have had this some kind of, I guess, cycle. The whole sort of Star Wars cycle is just this never-ending cycle between good and evil and stuff like that. It's just
even if they just did it
tug of war all the time
with the pockets of Imperials fighting it, and then struggling to build a republic, even or anything like that, they could have gone that way. But it just, like I said, it made no sort of no sense from the start. Maybe they should have just had the whole zombie outbreak. Zombie stormtroopers.
Death troopers.
Yes. It was a thing, apparently, in the book, wasn't it? I don't know.
I think it's time to end.
What, Death Troopers?
No, this.
Oh. Okay.
We've gone on too long. We're just
ranting and waffling and going in circles. I know. That's what we do when we talk about Star Wars. We've been doing that for the last 3 years, 4 years. Whatever it is, we know each other.
Yeah, I'm tired now.
Well, you weren't really bringing much to the party anyway, in fairness, so.
Just bring myself.
Watch the trailer, and people who actually, go through it in depth and pull it apart, and you'll get an actual, probably a better review than us just ranting and raving about how it shouldn't have been made, if you want to do that. So, he's tired. I'm awesome. There you go.
Bye.
You can't just go by. I've said this before.
Yes, I can.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can.
The Force will be with you.